They're really good. And I think it might be Tony Atwood, hang on, who's also an expert. He writes, I think he's autistic, but him and his wife write books on what it's like living with autism from both sides. So that's always a good one. I mean, I generally stay well clear of anything on social media involving autism.
Yeah, I guess for me, as a parent, there are groups out there that are useful, that are useful. I am part of a couple as well, like parenting groups, but it's more like support rather than judging each other,
Yeah,
because
it's a difficult one to fall into.
I didn't know that I could apply for financial help for my son.
Did you know?
I didn't know. I only found out through a group, and now my son has all the help that he needs, that he requires.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I receive PIP because I struggle with things like setting the kitchen on fire. And,
your hazard.
Whether I like to admit it or not, if I was left on my own, things would blow up. And Jane keeps an eye on me a lot of the time, without me really realising it. And when I was on my own, I did struggle with many different issues in life. And so I've had to go through the PIP process, which I wouldn't recommend for anyone because it's horrific. It's there now, it's done. And thankfully it's out of the way. But I mean, I get people who turn around to me and say, "Oh, well, you don't look autistic," and I go, "Well, you don't look intelligent, do you?" So we're here.
What does autism look like?
Oh, God knows. Exactly. People have this idea in their head. I mean, I did a radio interview many years ago for a local radio station. I won't mention who, and the presenter was quite patronising and quite difficult because I was trying to explain the situation, and he was very much like, "Well, can you count cards then?" I was like, "Do you think if I could count cards, okay, and win loads of money in casinos, I would be sat here explaining to you why autism in employment is not working?" Because I would be making millions playing poker, wouldn't I? Or blackjack.
Yeah, of course.
I just thought, and for many years, I mean, we're talking 23 years ago, so 2001, Asperger's was still not really heard of. It was a very new thing. And the only idea that people had of autism was Rain Man. And that's where the idea of what autism looks like is Rain Man. And no one ever looked into it. I mean, people don't like Asperger's anymore, but I think they prefer high functioning autism or a high functioner. The problem with autism is it's one of those conditions that I mean, I appreciate your honesty where you've said, "Oh, I'm going through the statementing process at the moment," but it's also one of those conditions where people go, "Oh, I'm autistic," and you can go, "Well, are you doing anything about it? Have you got a diagnosis?" And they go, "Oh no, I just know." And you're going, if you tell people you're autistic and you're not doing anything to go and get a formal diagnosis, you are not helping autistic people.
Why is that?
Because just saying I'm autistic is a get out, isn't it? If you go, you're getting statemented. So this isn't a criticism towards you.
Of course.
But I know quite a few people who go, "Oh yes," and I'll say something like, "Oh, I've got high functioning autism," and they go, "Oh yes, so have I." And I go, "Oh, excellent. How long did your statementing take? What was the psychiatrist?" "Oh, well, I haven't done all that yet."
Right. How do you know?
How do you know?
It's like you can't just be like, "Oh, I've got," I don't know. What if it was a physical illness? You can't be like, yeah.
It's one of those ones where it can't be proved by anyone else.
That baffles me a little bit when people say.
People like to wear it on their sleeve as a badge. I prefer to just accept it as a condition that I have.
When it comes to acceptance, I have loads of other issues as well. I've got loads of mental health issues, but also physical difficulties. I got diagnosed with, lots of different things. but mainly I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is, widespread
Yeah.
pain. 5 years ago. Yeah, so 5 years ago. Yeah, about 5 years ago now. And basically just before Christmas to 2015, my husband thought I was having a stroke.
Oh,
And yeah, basically I was just like frozen almost. I sat down, I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, and I was having a horrendous migraine.
right.
They didn't know what was going on, and so got ambulance and whatever, and got there, and basically they did all the tests, and it wasn't the stroke. So I had migraines with stroke-like symptoms, which I didn't know it was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and basically they drained fluid from my spine because they suspected that I had meningitis.
You had a lumbar puncture then?
Those are horrible.
Yeah.
Those are absolutely awful, and I've had to have many, many done through the years, unfortunately. But so yeah, then being in hospital for about a week, and I got diagnosed with a condition called idiopathic intracranial hypertension, which is when you've got, too much fluid in your skull, and then therefore you get
Yeah,
migraines.
pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of pressure and stuff. But also I had a lot of body pain, and then they've diagnosed me with fibromyalgia as well.
Yeah.
But it was tough accepting, like, sort of like I always worked all my life, okay, but my life went into standstill in 2015 when I got home from work and I was feeling very unwell. And then next day I was like, oh, I can't, like, I'm still feeling really unwell. So I rang in sick. And then that evening is when everything happened, everything happened and stuff. And going to the hospital, to my doctor saying, like, right, you cannot go back to work, because if you have something as bad as this, it can affect you, and in a really bad way. So I was like, oh, okay, I can't just stop going to work. And they were saying that just looking at like a screen like 8 hours a day, it didn't help with the migraines. So I'm like,
No.
right, okay. But then I got home from hospital. 2 days later, I was back at work. I started feeling really, really ill again, and I thought I have to get a sick note. So I got a sick note, but I had to come like January 2016. I had to quit my job because I was still very unwell. But going from providing for my family, because I was the main provider for the family, to not providing, to not having, that income, it was very difficult. Especially I was used to my routine, and disruption of routine is something that is very, affects me
Yeah.
greatly.
Breaking routine is a very common trait. So, like, you plan ahead for what you're going to do
Oh
days
God,
in
yeah.
advance, and then if it's suddenly cancelled, you're like, ah.
Oh
Um,
yeah. But then some people don't understand um how that affects autistic people, because it's like, oh, it gets cancelled, right, okay, I'll just go do something else, or like a gig or whatever. And then if it
yeah,
gets cancelled, the people just like, oh, whatever, okay, I'm just going to do something else. But for me, it's like, oh my God, I had all these plans,
yeah,
have to get the train at this time or go to this place at this time, all this stuff. I feel really bad. It really affects.
yeah. And yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I used to. I haven't worked all my life. I've worked intermittently doing different jobs throughout my life. Um, so I've had an income, and there's been years where I haven't been able to work.
Yeah.
Um, Mainly through social. things rather than anything else. But so when I was a
trainer, valid though. It's still valid.
Yeah, when I was a trainer, and I used to train first aid and health and safety and food hygiene and stuff like that. A job I was really good at and I really enjoyed, but it became too stressful. So I would have to set off, plan the journey. So I'd sit in the car at night, get the sat nav out, work out how long it would take me. It would always happen at 6 o'clock as well. So I'd get in the car, put the sat nav on 6, type in where I was my destination. It would say hour 17 minutes, add 30 minutes so that I arrived there in time. And then if I got stuck in traffic and I was going to be late, I would just melt down. I couldn't deal with it. So they say things like, oh, well, you should give yourself extra time. Well, if you're giving yourself extra time and there's still an unpredictable event, and predictability is something that I really enjoy, and I like planning, and I always say it's like seeing the world in front of you. I analyze things in a way which I don't think people will ever get, but I can see how behaviors of one group will affect another.
Mm-hmm.
You can see what's going to happen. The car crash is going to happen before it happens a lot of the time. Which so if I suddenly get a change in the situation, it can really bugger things up.
And I understand. Yeah, I understand that more now because of my kids.
Yeah.
Because before I was just like, oh, okay, they do this thing that I do. What's going on here? I thought it was just me being weird. I thought it was just a weird thing to do.
I'll be honest. When I met you in Sheffield, I sort of went. I think I said to James, who I was with, I went, "Oh, that's Kat. I think she's autistic," and you can generally tell other autistics. It's like gaydar for autism.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And you can sort of check. So I'm glad that you're going through the process of a diagnosis, because the diagnosis is great once you've got it, but as many doors as it opens, it also closes a lot of others, and sometimes it can get a bit overwhelming. So just be wary of that.
Yeah, I am. That's yeah.
And give me a ring if you need anything. Just get in touch, and we'll waffle on about stuff. I always say I'm level 23 autistic now, a chaotic good ranger, which I'm not. I'm probably a chaotic.
But I guess like if I wasn't the way I am, then I wouldn't have. I don't know. I wouldn't have achieved so much in my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
You won't be you.
No. And
people trying to cure autism is one of my. Oh, I get so angry with them because it's such a unique part of my individuality.
Yes.
Why would I want to cure it? Because if
it's a part of who I am.
It wouldn't be me anymore.
Yeah, it's a part of who I am, and I, like I stim quite a lot. So stimming, I do it quite a lot, and mine is this, right?
Oh, right. I do that generally.
Yeah, it's this and biting my fingers or like this, like I stim quite a lot. But it's just like, yeah, it's just a response, like to right now, I don't feel overwhelmed or anything. I'm enjoying my time. And then it's just like, I'm happy. And it's like, I'm stimming.
Yeah.
Like that, like when growing up, people didn't understand, like, oh.
I do that with my hoodie zip if I'm really nervous. So
yeah.
I'm just rubbing my chest for trying to visualize this. Imagine a hoodie zip and the man frantically rubbing it up and down.
Yeah.
And I realised this sounds far worse than it should. But yeah, so it's I tap as well. So I jiggle my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we've talked about good things and I haven't said anything too offensive, apart from putting dogs and cats in bags, which I don't do, by the way, lovely people.
I'm sure. I'm sure no one's going to accuse you of anything. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're listening to Dr Porridge on the Mental Health Hour. Is your mental health better now?
Don't say
mine isn't.
we don't want to know.
Welcome to the laboratory.